Greetings, world. It's your boy Jason Armstrong coming to you with another segment of A Slice of Pie. This is where we talk all things community and hopefully building community through partnerships, innovation, and empowerment. So, this week's segment, I'm giving you what I promised, and we're going back with a storytelling episode. So, if you listen to the last storytelling episode, I shared a highlight moment that I shared in the book about one of the most impactful experiences in my career. One of the things that I'm most proud of. If you didn't catch that segment, then you need to go to my YouTube page and you need to watch it. And in that segment, I promised that I would come back and do another storytelling segment and share the low light moment that I shared in my book. So if you don't have your copy of I'm Done Here Yet, you need to go pick it up and read it. Getting a lot of positive feedback from people who have already read the book. And I continue to meet people that when I meet them, they tell me that they picked up a copy of the book and it's on their reading list. So in the first chapter of the book, I shared two moments that really shaped and impacted my career, or ultimately what my career would become. And these were back in my early days. And so I already shared the highlight, which I love talking about that story because it made me look good, it made me sound good. But I promised that I would come on and share my low light moment. And so if my highlight didn't encourage you to go pick up my book and read it, then maybe my low light will. And if nothing else, you'll have some information that you can hold over my head and that you can clown me on, because plenty of people to this day still clown me about my low light moment, or some people have forgotten about it. And after they read the book, they call me and that's all that they want to talk about. So here it is. It was a Thursday night. It's always crazy when you remember exactly what day something happened on. It was a Thursday night, and the schedule that we worked at my agency, if you worked Wednesday and Thursday, and then you were off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I was on night shift at the time. And so working Thursday night, you get off Friday morning and you're off for the weekend. You don't come back to work until Monday night. And this was a holiday weekend. So this is my last shift before the holiday. I was in Georgia. So this is my first agency in Forest Park. And this was in the first, this might have been my second year in the profession. So early 2000. At the time, my best friend Mike lived in New York. And we was flying up to New York Friday morning. So I had an early morning flight Friday morning to get up to New York. And we were going to have a holiday weekend of just hanging out and kicking it in New York. So I'm looking forward to my trip. So those in the law enforcement profession know the worst thing that can happen to you when you have somewhere to go when you get off is if you catch a late call or you get tied up in something and you have to stay over and finish it. Because when you're on the last day of your rotation, like all your work has to be done before you can leave. And the time of my flight, and this is before clear and pre-check and all of that stuff. So I didn't have a whole lot of flexibility. I needed to be leaving work pretty much right at the time that I was scheduled to get off so I could get to the airport and catch my flight. So coming to work that Thursday night, I had a game plan and my mind was made up that I was going to make sure that I didn't get caught up or tied up with anything that was going to have me staying over. And one of the tricks of the trade in policing to avoid work, especially paperwork, one of the tricks of the trade is that you back everybody up. And that was my game plan coming to work that Thursday night. Is I didn't want to catch any calls that was going to have me having to do a real big, elaborate report with a bunch of evidence and all of this stuff. Like it takes hours to do that stuff sometimes. And so my game plan was anytime somebody had something that they needed a second officer there, I'm Johnny on the spot. And so all night long, I'm backing up everybody. I could be on the complete opposite side of town. If somebody got on the radio and said that they needed a unit, I was the first person jumping on the radio saying, I'm headed your way. I'll be there in a minute. I'm all over the place. And my shift ran from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So Man, we probably made it to about 2 o'clock in the morning. I hadn't got caught up in anything. So the night is going great, man. I'm looking good. Timing wise, I'm looking good. So I hear somebody make a pullover. Then a minute or so later, the officer that made the pullover calls for a backup unit. I jump into action. I'm headed to you. Pullover was in a gas station parking lot. And what's key about this gas station is that this was a 24-hour gas station. So it's still people coming and going. Get there. So I pull in right behind the officer that made the traffic stop. So you have the car that was pulled over, then you have the initiating officer's car, and then my car is parked right behind. So get up there. So the officer tells me that the guy driving, she doesn't think he's being honest with his name information. He didn't have any ID on him, and he wasn't back in the system, just running his name through the system. There were a couple other people in the car, and she just said that they were all kind of, acting suspicious. So she was going to get the driver out, detain him, and then see. So get the driver out, get him detained, and put him in her patrol car. So the officer that made the initial traffic stop, this individual gets seated in the back of her patrol car. There was a male driving. There was nobody in the front passenger seat. And then in the back seat of the car, there was a male and a female. The officer gets the male out and has an exchange with him talking about things. And I don't remember what led to it, but ultimately the male was detained in handcuffs also. So we have another person that's been put in handcuffs, and we have to sit him down somewhere. And we wanted to keep everybody separate because everybody was telling a different story or giving different answers to the questions that the initiating officer was answering. So the second male gets put in my car. So he gets put in the back seat. So when somebody's in the back seat, especially if you need to go talk to them, you typically have the window cracked. You can talk to them through the window. So I know at minimum my window was cracked. Because I know we was going back and forth, just trying to get information and talking to these individuals. The female gets taken out of the car, and by this point, our lieutenant has pulled into the parking lot. But he didn't pull his car in behind mine. He pulled off to the side. So our lieutenant is there in the parking lot, get the female out, trying to see what's going on with her and get information from her. And so she is standing off to the side talking to the lieutenant. So lieutenant has her, the driver is in the first patrol car, the other male passenger is in my patrol car. The driver, I think his information finally came back, and he either had a warrant out for his arrest or he had a suspended license or something. So we knew he was going to jail. So she asked me to help inventory the car. And I'm searching the back of the car, and I find a canister, an Altoids canister. And I open it up, and it's full of drugs, maybe cocaine and some crack and some meth are all packaged up. And then I also find a loaded gun in the back seat of the car. And as I'm clearing the gun to render it safe, I hear a noise, and that noise causes me to turn and look back behind me. The noise came from behind me, and I turn and I look back behind me. And as I look back, I see my patrol car is in motion, and it's making a U-turn, and it's driving out of the parking lot. And I'm sitting there like, what in the hell is going on? And I remember start jogging. I didn't take off running, but I start jogging in disbelief. Like, I know what I'm seeing is not actually happening, because this cannot be happening to me. And I'm kind of jogging, and I'm like, no, as if that was going to cause my car to stop moving. My car makes a U-turn and hammers out of the parking lot. So somebody has stolen my patrol car. So once I finally get my bearings about me, I take off and I run to my lieutenant's car, because there was nobody in the back seat of his car. And I'm jumping in his car, and I'm about to steal the lieutenant's car so I can go chase after my patrol car. And I get in the car, and then I start exercising better judgment. And I'm like, I'm probably in enough trouble as it is. Like, I don't need to steal my lieutenant's car also. So I jump out, and lieutenant runs over, and he jumps in, and then he takes off after my car. What helped us out this night is by this being a 24-hour gas station, the county had a police department also. And there were two county police officers at the gas station. And so once they saw this unfold and they saw my car get stolen, they jumped in their patrol cars and they took off after. So we already had multiple cars and multiple jurisdictions after my patrol car after it left. Fast forward, they get into this big car chase, this big high-speed car chase. The guy gets on the interstate going northbound in the southbound lanes. So going into oncoming traffic in the Atlanta metro area. That's how crazy this guy was driving, just trying to elude all of the officers that were chasing him. But the chase went on for so long that everybody had come and joined in on it, including GSP. And for those that know, GSP stands for Georgia State Patrol, but more affectionately, they're known as God's Special Police. And if you ever got into a car chase, you just wanted to be able to hold on long enough for GSP to get there, because they were relentless and you knew that person wasn't going to get away if GSP was on scene. So GSP gets there, and I think they take over the car chase from what I was told. And ultimately, they crash my patrol car into the median on the interstate to stop it, because it was just too dangerous to let the car continue to going against oncoming traffic on the interstate. So I hear go out radio that they got the car stopped and they got the guy, and it was the same guy who had been handcuffed in the back seat of my patrol car, had somehow gotten into the front seat of my car to take off and steal it. Man, the captain comes and picks me up from the gas station to take me out to the interstate. So like the whole time the chase is going on, I'm just kind of in a trance, like what in the world is going on? And just more important, like what kind of trouble am I in? Because I had a brand new patrol car. That thing was brand new Crown Vic. You get a brand new car, like you under the microscope of how you treat it, and it can't get no dings, no dents, no scratches. Like you got to keep thing immaculate. And this joker stole my brand new patrol car. The captain comes, picks me up, drives me out to the interstate where they get the car stopped. And I'm out there and it's just flashing lights everywhere. And I get out there, like I kind of climb up on the median, and I'm just sitting on the median, and I'm just like swinging my legs back and forth, just trying to process everything. And so clearly I had that look on my face, like having a bad night. And so all of the officers and the troopers that are walking by, they could tell that that was my patrol car. And so they walking by, I was like, hey man, was that your car that he stole? I'm like, yeah, man, that's my car. He's like, damn, man, sucks to be you. But hey, man, we had a ball in that chase, man. We appreciate you. And then they all walk off, jump in their cars, and they leave because they done. So the guy gets turned back over to us. And by this point, he had been handcuffed behind his back. When they caught him, his handcuffs were in the front. So he had maneuvered, and some people are flexible enough, and I've seen done before, where even though they're handcuffed behind their back, they're able to maneuver and come underneath their legs to bring the handcuffs in front, where now, you know, they have functionality at their hands. The guy never talked to us, so we don't know 100% how we got into the driver's seat, but there's only two possibilities of how he did it. And one is really, really far-fetched. In our cars, we had a sliding partition that could open and close between the back seat and the front seat of the patrol car if I needed to talk to the person that was in the back seat. And they asked me the questions when I was being interviewed afterward, you know, did I have the partition closed and locked? And I couldn't remember if I did or not, because we opened and closed it so much, like didn't pay attention to it. So I don't know if it was open or closed. But the partition is small, and this was a small guy. But as small as the partition is, I'm like, I don't think he could have, you know, fit through to get into the driver's seat. So the other option was, because the window was cracked, once he had his hands in front of him, you know, could he force the window down enough? So the doors in the back of patrol cars, they did not open from the inside. So he couldn't open it from the inside, but you could open it from the outside. And so I'm thinking, you know, he got the window down enough where he was able to reach out the window and open the door from the outside. And so I'm thinking that the noise that I heard might have been the door closing once he got into the driver's seat. Don't know for certain, but that's the best that I could come up with of how this guy got from the back seat of my patrol car to the driver's seat of my patrol car, and how he was able to take off in that bad boy. And so, man, now we get everything cleared up and we get him back, and everybody that's supposed to go to jail, we get them to jail. But now I'm a part of an IA investigation, and they got to come in. I got to be interviewed about all the stuff. And remember, it's the last day of my rotation. So all of this stuff has to be done before I can leave. And as crazy as my night was, because this didn't pop off till about 3, and I was supposed to get off at 7. And so as crazy as that night was, and all the statements that I had to write for what happened and interviews and all of this stuff, at the end of it all, I had to stay over a little bit. So I wasn't able to leave at 7, but I had to stay over an extremely long amount of time, and I still caught my flight. So I still was on time to catch my flight and get up to New York. Now, I still had a good time that weekend, but it wasn't, as good a time as I was planning on having, because I still was in my feelings about what had happened, and I still wasn't looking forward to having to come back to work on Monday, knowing just how much I was going to get clowned for what happened, and I still had some discipline waiting for me when I was going back. But the moral to that story, and even when I talk about this to younger officers that getting started early in their careers, we can try to take shortcuts, and we can show up some days, and our goal in that day is to do as little as possible, or to avoid work, or whatever the case be. And that was how I showed up that day. And I was taught a very valuable lesson. I never showed up to work again with the mindset that I'm not going to do any work today or tonight, because that day did not fare well for me. And it looked good, for all of the hours that my plan worked. But once things went sideways, they really went sideways for me. Hell, luckily I didn't get fired for that nonsense. Because although my car was stolen and I was the victim, and I was trying to play the victim, they didn't give a damn about me being the victim. And it didn't matter what happened. It was my car, so it automatically made it my fault that it was stolen. And clearly, I contributed to my car being stolen. And so I was treated like an accomplice as opposed to a victim. And so experiencing that and going through that, I only had to deal with it once. And from that night on, when I showed up to work, I showed up to work. And I was going to give it everything that I had, whether I felt like it or not. And I wasn't going to take any shortcuts, because I had a glaring example that I could always go back to highlight how bad things could be, man, when you try to shortchange your profession. So that was my low light moment that really helped fuel, what my career would go on to be, because I learned very early on that you can't shortchange it, and you can't take any shortcuts with this, regardless of what time your flight in the morning may be and how bad you want to go to New York and kick it for a holiday weekend. So I shared my highlight moment. That was my low light moment. Not to say that I didn't have any other low light moments throughout my career. I definitely had some more. But the early part of my career, that definitely was the moment that really, helped put things in perspective, and helped me understand that I had a career to be successful, and to do things the way that they need to be done, and to make sure I don't shortchange the profession or my organization, because I bore it dearly that night. So this has been Story Time. My low light example is shared in the book, so you can read about it. Also in the book, along, plenty of other stories from my career. And so I will leave you with that. This is Jason Armstrong. I'm done here.